Hey there, guys. All right, today we are back with some more history matters, and this time we are asking the question of why did Napoleon invade Russia? A short animated documentary. Before we get into the question, make sure you go and check out the links in the description box below. I would love you to join the Discord, follow me over at Twitch, and please do go check out the two gaming channels here on YouTube. One is for edited content, and then the other is for stream VODs. So, with that said, why did Napoleon invade Russia? I think it was because he wanted to give his best friend, his roommate, Alexander, a little kiss on the lips, a little smooch. Wanted to be closer to him. Hug. Show him some love. I don't know. Let's dive in.
All know that Napoleon's invasion of the Russian Empire ended, how shall we say, poorly. But one
Very
of the
badly,
big
yeah.
questions is, what was he
Not
hoping
good.
to achieve and were these goals realistic? So, a bit of context. When Napoleon had risen to power in the year 8, or 1799 as it's normally known, Europe...
Huh? Why the fuck was it? Oh, I'm guessing it was called Year 8 because that was 8 years after the deposing of the monarchy and the establishment of the republic. I'm gonna guess that's what it was.
looked like this. By 1812, on the eve of Napoleon's famed invasion of Russia, it looked like this. Napoleon
See, look what Napoleon did for the borders. He made them better. He made map art, and it is gorgeous.
had managed to defeat the Prussians, Russians and Austrians before this, and after rearranging their territories had demanded that they take part in what's called the continental system. The continental system was basically the don't trade with
Oh yeah, that's right. Alexander was not listening to the continental system. That's
Britain club, and this lack of trade was quite damaging to Russia. As such, in 1810 the Russians simply opted to ignore Napoleon's demand and trade anyway, which the French emperor did not like one bit. Now, this wasn't the only problem that plagued Franco-Russian relations. The first was ideological. Russia represented everything that the French emperor despised. It wanted a meritocratic Europe in which certain rights were enshrined and certain values were seen as being simply universal. And Russia did not embody these ideals.
no
The second
reform.
issue was Poland. In 1807, Napoleon had defeated the Fourth Coalition and as a result took this territory from Prussia and gave it to the brand new Duchy of Warsaw. In 1809, Austria tried to defeat Napoleon and just like everyone else, they failed. And so, as punishment for even trying in the first place, they lost this territory to the new Polish state. So how does this concern Russia? Well, the last independent Polish state was the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, and that had been partitioned by Austria, Prussia and Russia. This meant that a large Polish minority lived within Russia, meaning that if there was a conflict between itself and Poland, or its patron France, there would likely be an uprising. Furthermore, the close friendship between the Duchy of Warsaw and France meant that Poland could be used as a launching point for an invasion into Russia. As such, the Russians could not tolerate an independent Poland unless it accepted the Russian emperor as its king. The Poles and Napoleon said no, and so things got a little bit tense. So by 1812, the French
Never thought, at least when what I'm remembering from learning about Napoleon in school, which I don't think we ever fucking really talked about him in any of my university classes. So all the way back in high school, I think when we talked about this, it was essentially they just talked about the continental system as being Napoleon's reasoning for invading Russia. I never realized Poland may have played a much larger role in that. Neat.
French Empire was deeply bogged down by Spanish and Portuguese resistance in the Peninsular War. This was becoming costly in terms of money and lives, and so, as a result, Napoleon needed a win. And what better way to do so than to have a quick and easy victory?
So he chose to invade the largest country in the world. Okay, some mental decline there.
By invading Russia. Napoleon knew that he couldn't continue to fight the costly Peninsular War and invade Russia without Prussia and Austria on side. As such, Napoleon pressured them to commit small forces to the invasion, which they agreed to. The idea being that they would make an enemy of Russia and so wouldn't be able to join it against Napoleon. So as we all know, Napoleon's invasion of Russia was a complete failure, and so surely he must have been able to predict some of the issues he faced, right? Well, no. Napoleon was convinced of his own genius and considered the Russians to be an inferior people who would be unable to withstand his armies for very long. As we all know, this invasion went terribly for France and Napoleon's days in power were soon numbered. So, in summary, Napoleon invaded Russia for many reasons. To enforce the continental system, which in theory would starve Britain of money and resources, to destroy Russia as a potential future enemy so that France could focus entirely on the Spanish, Portuguese, and the British, and to strengthen his grip over Eastern and Central Europe as well as the new Polish state to enforce Napoleonic ideals there. However, the most obvious reason he invaded was simple. He thought he was going to win.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed this episode.
I enjoyed this episode quite a lot, and that was why Napoleon invaded Russia, a short animated documentary by History Matters. This was great. Again, I love how much information that History Matters is able to fit into a video in such a short span of time, under 3 minutes, and I feel like we got a good amount of information, right? He talks about the continental system, French ideals, one way of phrasing it, and also Russian resistance to the idea of that sort of reformation, Poland, and not just like Poland at the time, but also like Russia's perspective on an independent Poland, right? We got some context there in that, right? It wasn't just a paintbrush kind of line. It was like, no, let's talk about Poland here. This is important. This does play a factor into Russian perspective. So that was great. This was great. I have nothing else to add though. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.